Hi YouTube family, my name is Jennifer. I own an antique booth, two of them, called Oak and Iron. And in this week's video, we are turning this dresser that I've had for years, and we are going to be making it over into a French country dresser. So enjoy. We're going to be starting this makeover adventure by removing the hardware. Now this top drawer, the hardware was just regular screwed in. Now the bottom hardware, it is kind of pressed in with these tension brackets you'll see later. I removed the hardware, and in order to open and close the drawers without the hardware, I am just putting tape to the back of the hardware so I can open and close it. In the other drawers, I'll put a bolt and a nut on the back. After removing all the hardwares, I am taking out the drawers. I just find it's easier to look for any repairs that I need to do and to prepare for the next step. Now this top drawer, however, has a piece of plastic for this faceplate. I'm going to take that off. So to remove this plastic face front of this dresser, I'm trying to use Mini Crow, and I quickly realized I need something flatter to get in between the wood drawer and this plastic face plate. So I had to get a 2 or 3-in-1 tool that I could get in between those two pieces of material, and I just tapped it just to kind of get that separation started, and then I used the Mini crowbar to kind of get in a little bit deeper and to pry off that face plate because it was attached by a couple of nails. And once you get that tool in between those two materials and you kind of pry it off, it gets a little bit easier to see where the nails are, so you can actually put your tool near the nail sites, and that helps you get that face plate off a little bit better. And then you just use your crowbar and then you just lift it up off the surface of the drawer. Now it's time to clean the dresser. I'm using Dixie Belle's White Lightning, but you can use any degreaser or TSP agent you have, such as Simple Green, Dawn dish soap, or a powder that's called TSP, or it comes in a squirt bottle. Basically, you're cleaning the surface of the dresser, and you're cleaning off not only dirt and grime, but any residual cleaning products that might be left on the dresser, such as Pledge or Murphy's oil soap. Those are great cleaners, but the paint won't adhere well to the dresser if that kind of stuff is left on the dresser. So you have to give it a good cleaning and get in all the crevices. And once you clean that off, you will have to go back and wipe down that degreaser with water, because same thing, your paint is not going to stick onto the dresser. You'll It'll peel or it'll scratch off very, very easy. And who wants to put in all this hard work only to have a finish on a dresser that fails? So make sure you give it a good scrub down, and then after you're done cleaning with your cleaning agent, make sure that you clean off with some plain old water. And whether it's my old dresser or a dresser that I pick up from somewhere, I really pay extra attention to the surface of the dresser, the top part of it, because that's going to get the most wear and tear, in my opinion, of a dresser. And I just want whatever I'm going to be doing to the top of the dresser, I just really want it to look nice, and any paint or stain or anything like that, I really want it to adhere well. And are you ready to see how gross this dresser? Now, keep in mind, this was my dresser, and this water is so gross. So that makes me cringe. Now, the next step is debatable. I like to scuff sand my pieces. I use 120 or 220, and I like these sanding screens the best when I'm doing any sanding. I have just now found them and fell in love with these sanding screens, so I just absolutely adore them. But I still give my pieces a quick sand. Now, a lot of people don't. They feel like if you do a good clean, that this part of the prep is not needed. I still like that extra sense of security for my piece, that the paint will just adhere a little bit better. Sanding gives the piece tooth. That tooth allows the paint to get into these little microscopic spaces between the old finish and the surface of the dresser. And I do like to sand. I just that little added protection to keeping that finish nice and strong. After you sand, you will have some debris on top, and I just wipe it down with some water before I paint. And I just try to get into all the nooks and crannies. And today I'm going to be using Fusion Mineral Paint in the color Cold Black. I absolutely love this paint. I absolutely love this color. It's a really true black. I find Fusion Mineral Paint has a really good first coat coverage. Now, typically that first coat, I call it the ugly coat, it's not going to cover your piece really well. You will still have breakthrough where you see the original piece or the original color underneath, and that's okay. The first coat is just slap the first coat on just to get it on and get it started, get the color started, get whatever you want to start it, whether it's blending or just a solid color, as in this case. And unfortunately, this day that I am doing this painting outside, it was really hot. So I was finding my paint drying too quickly. even though I spritzed it down with the water bottle, and that kind of prolongs the drying time and it keeps a wet edge so you don't get any brush strokes or marks in your paint. It was still drying way too fast. But I make sure that I put that first coat on all the pieces, and sides included. Do you have to paint the edges of the dresser drawers? No, you don't. I do. I just think it looks a little bit better. Some people don't. I've seen some pieces that the edges were just left the original paint color, and that looks fine too. I just feel like if you're gonna open up the dresser, the drawers, it's kind of an experience, and I would like my dressers to kind of look nice, the edges. So sometimes I will paint the edges, or I'll decoupage the sides. I just think that it kind of looks a little bit better, just funner. So, in my rare free time, when I'm not being a nurse or stocking or doing things for the booth, I love to do furniture makeovers and room makeovers. As you guys know, we are redoing our kitchen. We are actually kind of redoing the whole house, laying flooring down and kind of redoing room by room. But if that's kind of your thing, if you're like me and you kind of get enjoyment seeing, people redo furnitures and room makeovers and booths and booth setups and all that kind of stuff, if that's your jam, if you wouldn't mind subscribing if you haven't subscribed already, and like the video, that tells YouTube a whole lot. But I would appreciate it, and I'm sure others who are, wanting to find this kind of content will appreciate it too. So if you don't mind, go ahead and do all those YouTube things to help get the video out to more people. But I am just digging this color. And can I tell you guys something? This dresser I've had for a while, and ever since I started redoing furniture, I looked at this piece daily and said, that piece needs to be black. It needs to be this Moody French country distressed finish. And I am so glad that I'm finally getting around to getting this dresser done. It turned out so cute. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Remember that hardware that we removed at the very beginning of the start of this piece makeover? But see underneath the handles how grody it was. Well, it's time to take it upstairs and to make hardware soup. Now, there is a person on Instagram, and I cannot remember her name, but she is the one that first started doing hardware soup. She boils water, half, vinegar. She boils it and puts her pieces in the boiling water and just kind of let it boil for about 5 to 10 minutes. Then she takes it off the burner and she just then lets it cool down. I have done that in the past and it works great. I don't like the smell of vinegar, and Joe doesn't like the smell of vinegar in the house either. So what I have been doing lately is getting a Tupperware dish and doing hot tap water and vinegar, putting all the pieces in there, putting the lid on it, and just letting it do its thing for a couple of days. Now, every so often, you'll have to go and lift the lid up to kind of burp it, so to speak, and then put the lid back down because it will create some kind of air pockets. But it cleans the hardware without having to sit there in front of a hot stove and boil your hardware. But it cleans it very good. And I just kind of jiggle it around, make sure that all the pieces are moving freely, and I just put it to rest. Once you have let it set for a couple of days, it could be a couple of hours, a couple of days, whatever you have, I go ahead and I dump the water out, and then I rinse off those pieces because they still have all those little grody bits and pieces underneath. So I just kind of clean off the vinegar and water mixture. I put it to dry. From there, once you have it all rinsed and to dry, you can walk away and do the next step later at your convenience, or you can definitely go straight in with the barkeeper's friend and scrub them down. Both of them are just fine, but look at that water, and that's the stuff that's still left over. There was a lot of grossness that came off of these pieces. For the barkeeper's friend, you can use this liquid version or you can use the powder. I just happen to have this on hand. And you can either pour it on your piece or pour it on the scrub brush and then go to town scrubbing the pieces. Even though you let your hardware sit in the hardware soup for a while, I really love the step of scrubbing it down with barkeeper's friend. I think it just makes the hardware look so much better. The top one is the one that we scrubbed down with barkeeper's friend, and the bottom one is the one that just came out of the hardware soup. They're both clean, but one just has the old finish off, and you can see what the original hardware looked like. I am so in love with this hardware. I love the gold and the black. So these are going to look just absolutely stunning on our dresser. Okay, everyone, we have done our first sloppy coat on, and I always call it the ugly coat because it doesn't look the greatest. But this Fusion mineral paint, I am not a seller, I'm not a sponsor yet. Who knows what the future has? But this paint actually, it's a really good paint because that first coat coverage is really no joke. It does a nice job. So this dresser will only take 2 coats. Now, with the Fusion mineral paint, it's like a one and done kind of paint. It has the primer, color, and top coat in it. I still like to top coat my pieces. So we will top coat this just to kind of bring out a little bit more luster, because the paint itself is matte. It has a little bit of sheen in it, but not much. We're still going to top coat it with something. So stay tuned. I do have something in this line that we're going to try first time together for me and you. But we are going to go on with our second coat of this coal black, and I am really loving the coverage, everything. I think this like French moody vibe that I'm seeing everywhere is just totally my jam. Totally my jam. I like it. I like the French country, cottagey, moody vibe. The black and gold. You guys know I like my furniture in black. But we're gonna go on for our second coat and top coat it, and then this piece, it'll be done. It'll be ready. It'll be ready to go into the booth. So just giving it a quick stir. So you can pour your, let me just say, you should not be using your containers to paint out of. Do I? Yeah, 100% of the time I do. It does kind of make the top yucky. I'm sorry guys, I am a bit of a non-conformist when it comes to paint. But should you be pouring this into a separate container? Yeah. Do I feel like that's a wasted kind of step? Yeah. So I just use it out of this. And I'm just perfectly happy to do so. If you, people on the internet, want to pour it into a separate container so it doesn't get all yucky, go for it. Don't think that you're going to get arrested either way of not, you know, pouring the paint in a container. So let's get our second coat. Just to let you guys know, I did go ahead and just kind of sand it really, really quick, just with a 220 wet sanding block. I love to sand wet. If you guys know me by now, you know I sand wet. So I went ahead and just off camera, just went ahead and just touched the surface really quick with the with the 220 sanding sponge thing, so it's nice and smooth for my second coat. Do you have to do that? No, you don't. You can just go and start painting, and then the last step, or when you're done, you can do the sanding. I feel like it kind of dulls it a little bit, so I do like to do it, hidden kind of in between my paint. Do I do it all the time? No, I don't. It just depends on if the brush strokes are bothering me, and they kind of were on this piece. So I actually, you saw, I painted it outside. It happened to be really muggy and really hot, so the paint was really drying before I could actually get my finishing strokes down. So it was leaving a lot of streaking, a lot of brush strokes where it normally doesn't. So that's why we're inside today. And that's why I hit it really fast with a sanding sponge, a wet sanding sponge. You don't have to do it, but I chose to do it on this piece because I really like to do my best work. So it's nice and smooth for our second coat. Just going to be using my Country Chic paint brush. I like this and the F50s. These are they're very soft. That's why I like using them. They're just kind of really soft and pliable and easy to clean. So that's why I like these brushes. The zebra brushes you can find in the Home Depot, in the hardware stores, and the Lowe's and stuff like that. They work. They work. I like these better. I like these soft bristles better, but you can do the zebra and you'll get a nice finish. I just think these work a little bit better. Okay, so while that is drying, our second coat, we did hardware soup on the handles, the poles. Let's just call it the poles. And I just did equal parts vinegar, equal parts hot tap water. Can you boil it? Yeah. Do I? No. I just put it in a dish and let it soak for a couple of days. And they turned out really good. Take them out. You kind of scrub them down with Barkeeper's Friend, and they clean up really nicely. But some of the plating came off, and I think it was brass plating, and then they did like a black rub on top of it to antique it. And when I cleaned it, here, let's clean our brushes. When I cleaned it, so when I cleaned them, it took that black rubbing off, which that's what I wanted to do. So it did everything that I wanted to do. But then where over time where people would just hold on to it to move it, to move the drawer in and out, it kind of rubbed off the brass plating. So I'm going to clean up our brushes, just soak in water, and when we went to Elderberry Place, I got some of this stuff. I love this to clean out my paint brushes, and Joe uses it when he washes his hands after he plays mechanic. But I'm going to clean up our brushes, and then we are going to do some rub and buff to the handles. So I have these rub and buffs that I am just going to kind of shine up these handles. They are shiny, but I want to give it a little bit more life. And I think that'll be the sparkle on the dresser that I want. So I have gold leaf and I have antique gold. I think I'm going to try gold leaf first, and if I don't like it, I can go back with the darker color. That is what I think I'm going to do. Now, sometimes it's kind of, I haven't used these in a while, so I'll do that. And I use my hands just because this is kind of, it's a wax base, and trying to clean up your brushes afterwards is kind of a little bit more difficult. So I just use my fingers and some gloves. I'm just kind of shining up this hardware. So this side's not done, this side is. So I just kind of want to get into the high points, shine it up with my fingers. We'll still keep the low points in there just to kind of give it some, dimension, some definition. But I think I like that so much better. Not done, done. make really good earrings. What do you think? I think they would. Now, this is the product that I was talking to you about that's new to me, and it is Fusion Mineral Paints Wax. Now, remember what I said, that this paint is a one and done kind of paint where it has the primer, the color, and the top coat embedded into the paint, and you really don't need to do a top coat. I wanted to give this dresser a little bit more added protection, and I think it needed a little bit more shine. I did not want high gloss, but I still wanted a little bit of shine just to give this black dresser some dimension. Otherwise, it would have been just a really flat colored piece. Now this wax kind of reminds me of mid wax or min wax, soft wax. It's very buttery, very soft. And this is the first time I used this product. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. I tried to use Dixie Belle's Big Mama's Butter on top of the Fusion mineral paint, and I did it on this piece, and it just never really dried down. There was a lot of transfer to it. So the antique booth that where I have my booth at, there is the owner who sells Fusion mineral paint, and I kind of went up to her and I was like, hey Claire, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm finding out when I put another product on top of this Fusion mineral paint, and it's just not dying down. So she had me take this home and try it to see what I thought about it. So I took off the Big Mama's Butter with mineral spirits, and then I used Fusion's line, wax line, and I love it. I really do think that perhaps there is something to be said about using the paint lines wax or finishes on top of their paint. Again, this is the first time I've used this product, and I'm kind of putting it on like I would do any wax top coat. You put it on in circle motions, and then you take it off and you buff it out. And that's what I'm doing here. And what I'm finding out is it really did dry down and harden almost instantaneously, almost in the span of maybe 5 minutes. And I could come back and just buff out the finish. I didn't have to wipe down that excess product and then buff it down. So I really do feel deep in my heart that it's really good to use the lines finishes, because the other wax was just not working up to my expectations. So this new wax, or the Fusion mineral wax, it just did really adhere well, and it played well with the Fusion mineral paint. So I highly recommend both those products. The last step is to put the hardware back on, and I think it's kind of like wearing jewelry to an outfit. It just kind of adds that little extra bit to the piece, to this dresser. And I liked the original hardware. There was nothing wrong with it. It just needed to be cleaned up a little bit, right? It just needed to add that little sparkle and that shine. These particular handles, though, they don't have a screw that like screws it into place. It's these like tension clips that you have to pound into the holes, and then you place the handles down, and it's very secure. It kind of like grabs it. And so I'm just going to replace the original hardware because I like it. It's pretty. It goes with the piece. It gives it that French country kind of vibe that we're going for. So we're just going to add the sparkle, the shine back onto the piece, and then she is ready for her big reveal. Now, one final reminder to like that button, subscribe if you haven't already, share the video with others, and have an amazing day. Be amazing. And here she is. She is ready for her big reveal at the antique booth. And that will be our next video, guys. We have to go to the antique booth to spruce it up, stock it, and put her in there. Although, let me just tell you, I want to keep her for myself. We just don't have the room here. And I think instead of hoarding her and keeping her downstairs in the basement, I want to put her in the booth so somebody else can love her and enjoy her. So guys, I will see you in the next video, which will be putting her into her big reveal into the antique booth. And remember, love you guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye. Here is my handles, and you may also enjoy watching this other video that YouTube thinks that you would like.